What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from NamasteGaming, bringing you my Guild Wars 2 Thief leveling guide. In this video, we're going to take a look at the skills, traits, and weapon sets needed to make a thief that can handle some of the tougher situations that come up when you're leveling solo. This build excels at handling adds, and most importantly, it's designed to keep your ninja booty out of the grave. The weapons we'll be using for this particular version are sword and pistol, with shortbow as our ranged option. Let's start off with skills. Our shortbow is really just there for spamming skill 2 during dynamic events to tag and kill everything, but we chose our main weapon set for a good reason here. With sword pistol we have a skill called Pistol Whip on our 3 button there, which stuns and hits a total of 9 times. Why is hitting 9 times awesome, you ask? Because for our healing skill we'll be using Signet of Malice, which heals you passively every time you hit an enemy. Now, generally it's just a nice bonus that doesn't really do all that much to keep you topped off, but combine it with Pistol Whip and things get a bit crazy. With the amount of self-healing you'll have, this thief won't feel nearly as squishy as the typical glass cannon build. The pistol offhand also nets you black powder, which gives you another bit of mitigation for those spotty situations. The other skills we're going to be using are pretty self-explanatory. Signet of Shadows for the 25% run speed buff, which is probably the single best signet in the game as far as leveling speed goes. Caltrops to give us some extra AoE damage and to help get away from sticky situations. And in the third slot we'll be swapping back and forth between Shadow Refuge, probably the best oh crap skill in the game, and Shadow Step, which gives us a bit more mobility and condition removal as needed. For your elite skill, Thieves Guild and Dagger Storm are both great damage and solid utility, so it really just comes down to preference. Now let's talk traits. Most people make the mistake of dumping a ton of points into Deadly Arts or Critical Strikes right away, and just opt for the DPS race approach to fights. From what I've seen, it's pretty impressive when the stars align and everything crits, but if you get a cold streak, you're done, son. Since we're talking about leveling speed here, we have to be realistic. Not every fight goes our way, and time spent running back from waypoints and repairing will only slow down the process. This is why we're going to be focusing on survivability. On that note, the first 20 points go into Shadow Arts and Acrobatics. You can start with either one. Really, we're gunning for stats here, since Thieves don't really bloom until the Tier 2 traits open up. For Master traits, I like Power of Inertia in Acrobatics and Master of Deception in Shadow Arts to cut down the recharge on our main condition removal. From 30 to 40, put points into the offensive trait line of your choice. I prefer Critical Strikes since most Thief gear early on gives you plenty of power. At level 40, you're going to start to see the real potential of this build. As soon as you open up the Tier 2 traits, put 20 into Acrobatics. You'll want to keep Powerful Inertia from before, and for our Tier 2 major trait, we'll be taking Assassin's Reward. Self-healing and dodging are the keys to this build, and since Feline Grace, the 15-point minor acrobatics trait, pretty much gives us 3 dodges, we should probably capitalize on that. That's why our remaining 10 points are going to go into Trickery to pick up Uncatchable, which drops Caltrops when we dodge. This gives us a bit of free damage and extra survivability from doing something that we're going to have to do anyway. From 40 to 60, I'd suggest going 5 points deeper into Trickery for Preparedness, which will give us a little bit more front-loaded damage and situational healing, and then going down Critical Strikes if you feel like you've got enough survivability. If not, you can always go down Shadow Arts, but it's far from optimal since the only way that line benefits solo PvE is in the stats. With level 60 in the Tier 3 traits, we can work towards our final build. We're going to keep the same 20 in Acrobatics and 15 in Trickery, and we're going to put our remaining 15 points into Critical Strikes. Signets of Power is a great choice for the major trait here, but this one is really a matter of preference. We're going to continue down Critical Strikes to pick up Signet use, at which point death should become a thing of the past. Then we're going to grab First Strikes. We now have the core of the build. Good damage, great survivability, and 10 points left over. If you're getting overwhelmed by conditions, putting those points into Shadow Arts will get you a recharge reduction on Shadow Step. 5 points more into Trickery to pick up Initial Strike will improve your sustained damage, and still leaves you 5 points to either finish off Critical Strikes or pick up any of the other 5 pointers. Deadly Arts doesn't really synergize well, but if you want to try a hybrid Venom build, you could probably grok something out. Gear-wise, you'll probably want to stick to mostly power. Runes of Divinity work pretty well for this build since it takes advantage of every stat, and you may want to swap out to a chest piece with toughness if you want to be able to stand toe-to-toe with things that you're not currently pistol whipping. Finally, just a personal note. Out of the 5 classes that I have any measurable amount of time on, so far the Thief has been the most difficult to level. The slow regen of initiative and your low health means that you have very little room for error, so either brush up on those pro gamer chops or be prepared to die a lot. If you have any questions or just want to chat about Thief builds, hit up the comments section down below and I'll do my best to respond. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, do me a solid and click the like button. It helps a ton with growing the channel and makes the video easier for people to find. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click the giant subscribe button on the screen right now to join the family. At the bottom of the screen are 2 videos you might have missed. The one on the left is my Guild Wars 2 warrior leveling guide if you happen to be more of a warrior guy. And the one on the right is my first episode of Newbie School for PlanetSide 2. If you haven't played it yet, it's a free download on Steam and it does a great job of bridging the gap between MMO and FPS, so check it out. Make sure to add NamasteGaming on Facebook and Twitter, and don't be afraid to hit me up anywhere. Interacting with you guys is my favorite part of this whole crazy YouTube ride. Love y'all. Stay black.